Hello, my name is Neel and I welcome you all to this week's Sunday special episode of Around the World in 7 Days. In today's special episode, we will take a look at the major developments in international politics over the last week. Apart from the main story, we will also talk about other international news events. So let's begin with the main story first. Energy is the most important, or at least one of the most important needs of our lives. In fact, to a large extent, it forms the very basis of our meaningful existence. The magnitude to which it affects our lives can be gauged from the fact that any increase or decrease in the crude oil prices has a direct impact on the overall price rise or fall in the economy. Something similar is likely to happen once again. Due to a recent decision taken by OPEC plus countries, our mundane lives are going to be in some trouble again. Actually, many major oil producing countries of the world have announced reductions in crude oil production of late. According to the news, there will be an overall reduction of 1.6 million barrels per day. Ever since this announcement, there has been an upheaval in the international oil market, and there has been a jump in the price of crude oil in the international markets. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and several other Gulf countries have announced plans to reduce oil production by up to 1 million barrels per day. Countries outside the Gulf have also announced to cut production. The countries of the OPEC group take any decision jointly. Therefore, it is believed that all the countries of this group will reduce oil production. But the question is, why? Why in an energy-hungry market, key suppliers would want to reduce production? A reduction of 1.6 million barrels is a huge cut. Does this move of OPEC countries mark the beginning of a new change? This is also a big question. Apart from this, India is the third largest consumer of crude oil after the US and China. In such a situation, how this move of OPEC countries will affect India? Let's look for the answers one by one, but before that, let's know about OPEC group. OPEC and OPEC Plus are organizations of the world's oil exporting countries. OPEC stands for Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and is headquartered in Vienna, the capital of Austria. It was established in 1960 in Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. Its founding member countries are Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. UAE, Algeria, Angola, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Libya, Nigeria, and Congo also are members of OPEC. There are a total of 13 member countries of OPEC. Apart from these 13 countries, 10 additional countries, namely Russia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Brunei, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Mexico, Oman, South Sudan, and Sudan export oil. These 10 countries, together with the 13 countries of OPEC, form the OPEC Plus group. This group was formed in 2016. These organizations control oil prices around the world. These countries have control over large energy bases in the world. So you can get an idea of the strength of these groups. According to the will of these countries, the price of oil increases or decreases in the global markets. The recent step taken by the OPEC group can lead to a rise in oil prices. You might remember when Russia attacked Ukraine, the crude oil prices skyrocketed. The price of crude oil at one point of time had even gone up to $130 per barrel. A major change that came during this was that the Western world banned the import of oil from Russia. Due to this, Russia started selling oil at a cheaper price, but then Western countries banned its purchase as well to a large extent. The Russia-Ukraine war disrupted the oil trade system and no new system could be formed after that. This cut by the OPEC countries is in addition to the existing 2 million barrels per day cut. So it is being said that the purpose of this cut is to provide stability to the oil market. Saudi Arabia, which is a major crude oil producer, has also said that these steps are precautionary, keeping in mind the stability of the oil market. Experts also believe that in the international market, there is more oil than is required. That's why steps like cutting oil production have been taken. On the other hand, a recession in the global economy was predicted earlier this year. If it happens, it may result in reduced oil consumption. The recent cut is also being linked to this so that oil prices can be kept stable. But the story is not just about maintaining the oil market stability. You might remember that when oil prices skyrocketed after the Ukraine war, America had asked Saudi Arabia to increase oil production. But Saudi Arabia refused to do so. Generally, it is believed that the US has considerable influence on the oil producing nations of the Gulf, and it pressurizes them into taking oil related decisions based on its own interest, that is, the US's interests. However, this decision of the Gulf countries is being seen as establishing a new international oil system. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and other countries have announced cuts in oil production regardless of any pressure from any country. These countries have made such a big announcement without bothering much about the pressure of the Western countries. By unilaterally declaring 1.6 million barrels per day cut, these countries have made it clear that they are no longer under anyone's pressure. Another major thing is that America's strategic oil reserves have been at a very low level in recent times. That is, there is shortage of oil in these reserves. To bring it to normal level, America needs large amounts of oil. An increase in the price of oil at this point will be no less than a blow for America. Obviously, if the price of oil increases further, the US will have to shell out more money. This move also suggests that a new global order, at least regarding oil production, is all set to replace the old and the existing one. This move also needs to be analyzed from a geopolitical perspective. Actually, Russia is an important member of the OPEC Plus group, which will clearly benefit from the increase in oil prices. On the other hand, the US wants increase in the production of oil so that the prices remain stable and Russia doesn't get economic benefits. However, despite America's best efforts, OPEC countries did not agree to increase the production. Rather, they decided to further decrease it. This scenario is also being seen as an attempt to pressurize America. Well, now the question is, what will be its impact on India? As we already mentioned, India is the third largest oil consumer globally. It imports about 85% of its crude oil requirements, and most of it is from the OPEC plus countries. In such a situation, India will be directly affected by the cuts in production. It is believed that the production cut may increase the price of crude oil by up to $10 per barrel. The increase in the import bill will not only increase inflation and widen the current account deficit and fiscal deficit, but will further weaken the rupee against the dollar. In recent times, India has increased its imports from Russia significantly. After the latest announcement of reduction in production, how much oil will India buy and from whom and at what price is something to be seen. Now it's turn for this program's Sunday special segment in which we will talk about other important international news. Recently, the US and the Philippines have started their biggest ever joint military exercise. It has been named Balikatan. This exercise will last for about 3 weeks. In this, more than 17,000 soldiers of both the countries have been included. This exercise is being seen as a step by the Philippines against Chinese aggressions in the South China Sea. The exercise has been criticized by the China's foreign ministry, saying that the US should not interfere in the South China Sea disputes. However, it also stated that America's latest step will not make much of a difference to China's sovereignty, maritime rights, and security interests. Myanmar has taken a major action against the anti-coup organizations or anti-military rule groups in the country. In this action, Myanmar's army conducted airstrikes on a program of the organization. According to reports, more than 50 people have died in this incident. Myanmar's military is increasingly using airstrikes to counter the armed struggle against its rule. Army action started in February 2021. At this time, the army of Myanmar had overthrown the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi. Since then, more than 3,000 civilians are estimated to have been killed by the security forces. The other day, North Korea once again increased the worries of Japan and South Korea by launching missiles. The missile fell in the sea between the Korean Peninsula and Japan. In fact, it was expected to fall on the island of Hokkaido in Japan. In view of this, the Japanese government had even issued an alert to the residents of Hokkaido. Both Japan and South Korea have strongly condemned this act of North Korea. Apart from this, America has also condemned it and said that the doors of diplomacy are not closed, but North Korea should stop its destabilizing actions immediately. Significantly, North Korea had criticized the joint military exercises between the US and South Korea in the recent months and had also threatened of retaliation. So that was all in today's episode. See you again in the next one. But before that, let's note down the question based on today's story. Discuss the effects of increase in the crude oil prices on India. Also give reasons for its widespread effects on various sectors of the economy.